Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gaming Spiral. I'm your host, Percy the Jester of the Gaming Spiral, and here we have Hades 2.
Think this one would never show his face. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
A fellow student of death. Perhaps you know me from my work, as I'm increasingly intrigued with yours. Our king insisted that I act upon the violence now spiraling out of control. So here, a first of many contributions to the cause.
That was the great Lord of War, Ares himself, back again and ready to kick some butt. With him, he brings wounds. It's a very powerful curse that, as you can see, adds 50 power to the attack that inflicts it. But while they have the wound curse, it cannot reapply the debuff. Therefore, you don't get the power again. So right now, whenever I strike something, I do, for the first time, I do about 30 plus 50 plus 40%. If I strike them in the back, that is increased by 100% because of the specific sickle and dagger I'm using.
Okay, nice knowing you, dearie. Not that we're going down without a fight, but just in case. We barely beat him when we first settled up with Kronos way back when. But now he's grown a lot.
Truth. So, for this build, I was planning on going with the Disco Inferno build again. I was going to just try and brute force my way through all of this. But I decided to give it a try with the wound build for Ares and just kind of see where we can go.
Traitors. How many of these do they have? One less pylon.
Alright, so this fight pretty much over. You can kind of see that this curse would really be in favor of the axe. Because you go in, you hit the enemy one time, and you hit them really hard.
I grow strong.
So I'm kind of trying to balance between two specific things, which is Scorch and Wound. Basically using my cast to apply a ton of Scorch, and trying to one-shot lighter enemies with my basic attack. So with the bonus application of Scorch the first time you apply it, with cast being AoE Scorch, you can actually get a lot of Scorch on multiple enemies really quickly. Not as much as you can with the basic attack on bosses when extended like attack sequences, but you can really rack up some pain.
Sure, why not?
This is another thing that really kind of pushes my thoughts that wound is really good for the axe, because with visceral impact, you can increase your attack speed and your movement speed, which are the things that the axe really struggles with. With your attack speed suffering so much, if you were to get, let's say, 10 blood drops in a fight, 10% increased attack speed. On average, for a boss, it's not that bad. It's a pretty good chance.
Do your thing.
And you also get the Hermes buff, getting 15% more depending on the rarity. And you have the Thanatos axe, which is 30% increased attack speed. You're attacking half fast again, which for those that don't play games that often is double the number of attacks. It's still kind of take some getting used to. I will say the falling daggers can hit multiple times depending on where the enemy is standing or trailing behind you. So if you have an enemy that chases after you a lot, like the Banshees, whenever you go down to fight Hecate and Kronos, this is a really strong upgrade because you attack a lot, 20% increased power, it's really strong. But when you go down, you fight the Banshees. An enemy like that just blindly follows you will get hit by all instances of the falling daggers and take damage for each one individually. Also, if the enemy's super big, like a boss, you can just dash through them and it'll hit them with every single bit. This is when I first noticed that Ares' strikes don't scale as well as everyone else's because of the initial hit from the wound is just so much extra damage. They don't want to give you a really high percentage on top of that. So what this makes me do is get one, I'm pretty sure one, maybe 2 levels total on Vicious Strike, and then you just don't want any more. Because then it stops scaling super well.
Should put a dent into that barrier.
And if I'm remembering correctly, on average for the axe, assuming you don't have a damage buff, and you take the one that is basic for Melinoy, it's 90 damage on the first swing. If you were paying attention there for a second, you would see that my sickle and dagger deals 190 on first strike to the enemy. That's ridiculous. Absolute insane amount of damage.
Oh, if only I had your optimism. You're always smiling.
What's not to like? No shortage here of blood for my research, and the dead are wise enough to stay afield of me. Now here, let's cast another curse and you'll be right as rot.
This is like the funniest bit of the game, I think, for Medea. I take the health one here, but the one that deals 1 to 999 damage is hilarious because sometimes you'll go into fights and no enemies will appear because the majority of them take the like 500 to 999 damage. Here I'm kind of trying to play it safe, taking the health one because I know just how much damage the next phase does. Like, the new updated phase of the game does so much damage.
I never thought Kronos completely mad. But what else could have driven him to use the father of all monsters as a weapon? Typhon heeds no master. The destruction of Olympus shall not sate his appetites.
Very true. And this is why Kronos is absolutely insane.
Shocking every time.
That works really well with the Scorch, so I don't have to wait for enemies to come to me. I can kind of just throw it on enemies whenever. And we're on to Big Man. Polyphemus? I can't remember.
Ooh.
Free health.
I reached the summit of Olympus finally. They're fighting back against Typhon himself. Perhaps you knew already. He's quite enormous, yes.
Size of the mountain, again.
No longer ferry souls into the underworld, but has become quite valuable to the ongoing war effort. He's quite effective with that ore of his.
So, we've got close range damage on our special. We've got blood drops.
Its ups and downs.
Yeah, Polyphemus. Nice.
For instance,
that choice. Aren't you more accustomed to island living anyhow? This city life, even on the outskirts here, the pace is far too quick.
I know what you want me to do. Although I miss the island life now that you bring it up. Still got unwanted company sometimes, but not so much as now.
So every 3 seconds he takes an extra burst of damage. And yeah, he got me there.
Stink!
That's kind of rude. You see that little red orb floating there? That is the blood drop. For a 10% chance, it's dropped a lot. So that is a little trick that you can do, which is trick Polyphemus into eating the explosive ones, and I'm pretty sure it does a decent bit of damage to him. That goes to show how strong the backstab damage is on bosses that don't track you, because he was just standing there and I was
A gift.
freely doing double damage to him while he was just flexing his shoulder, and it racks up quick. Here's a really tough choice, and I don't know what supports the build best from here. Like, what works best with Scorch and Wound? I actually kind of forget how long I spend thinking about this. In the end, it took me about a minute and a half to figure it out, but I decided on Aphrodite. And I'm remembering what my thought process was for this. There's the boons that you can get for Aphrodite that give you bonus extra health whenever you pick up a health increase. So if I'm trying to scale and get tanky and do a lot of burst damage up front, I need health. It's kind of like the thought behind the axe. I'm going to eventually be taking damage because I don't know what's going on. So I just need health.
Our labors never cease. Go about your business, sister. I'm on the job. Stand clear. Fools.
Better.
There. Enough of this.
What you miss?
Satisfactory.
Alright, here we have the first incredibly difficult choice of the run. My bonus health, or every blood drop creates a heartthrob. With how many I am making in some of these boss fights, that is hundreds of damage I have to give up to get my bonus health. Granted, the bonus health is going to be worth it. I'm going to be stacked by the time I make it to Typhon. But I got to get there first. And I don't know if you've noticed at this point, but my damage is starting to fall off. Like, look how long it takes me to kill this Anchorman.
Good. Who else?
this fight really demonstrates just how quickly you can get blood drops. I have a 10% drop rate, and 4 have already dropped. I have 4% increase, 5% increase attack speed already. Just lounging around on this one boat, attacking multiple enemies at a time. I'm about to get a massive health buff just sitting here trying to do this normally and get through this boat, while also gaining massive amounts of attack speed. It's not as much or as effective as it would be on like the axe or perhaps the what is it, the wand. The wand would probably be really good with this build because it's got more AoE into it. But really what we're kind of fiending for right now is health. I don't know if you noticed the difference, but a Minotaur Heart usually only gives you 25, and that one gave me 40. I'm getting an extra 15 health per Minotaur Heart. And here we have our first interest of Never Punished. Absolutely never punished, and take this absolutely every time. When I'm telling you that this thing probably makes this run work as well as it does, I am not exaggerating. It's like the wound buff, and then the heartthrob buff, and then maybe the scorch. Honestly, I think I kind of forget that the Scorch even exists partway through this run. And there was the only downside of that Aphrodite boon that I have taken and am now trying to build around. Health doesn't help you close out zones. Killing the enemies is what closes out zones. Health can help me survive, yes, but if I can't kill the enemy, it doesn't matter how long I survive. There's no to the buzzer. And right now, even with all this health I've got, I'm getting hammered. You can say skill issue, but
without giving in return, especially from one who understands my work.
This I accept from you, my lord. Olympus, I accept this message.
Now, here is where I'm kind of rewarded for my efforts. See, the great thing about having a huge amount of health is that you can afford to be at lower health longer. So, right now, I have a pretty good chance of just randomly dealing double damage. So, I have a form of crit that is reliant on me being low health. I'm sure you've already noticed it when I'm proccing the wounds, sometimes the 240, like right there. If I had regular crit chance on top of this, and I was stabbing someone in the back, there's the potential to do 400% damage. But I would need a lot of natural crit chance to make that work. And to be at low health all the time, which I may not want to be. Alright, now everybody pay attention. If you blink, you might miss it.
Be over soon.
That's what I mean when I say we have burst.
Property recovered.
Picking up blood drops, AoE with the lightning bolt circle, scorch damage taking over, and striking them for wound, AoE, can do so much damage.
Let's do it.
I just run into hordes, and this is also a disgusting pickup. Because now, every time I pick up fire boons, I scale even more. It won't nearly be as much as the wound infliction does, because that just straight up does 50, but that's only a one-off. Now, all of my attacks technically have infinite scaling, as long as I keep picking up fire boons.
You took forever getting here, only to turn up practically as dead as the crews of all...
Apologies for any inconvenience, Eris. Fortunately, there's a quite refreshing fountain not too far from here, which should do wonders for my injuries.
Oh, then you're so close! Maybe you could make a break for it. The pathway out of here is right by... Look out below! Ooh, that's hot! Got something for you!
Now here is the ultimate use of Phrynos the Familiar, blocking Eris's sniper shot. I don't know if you know how much damage that does, but I don't think I've ever been hit by it and it not take a Death Defiance from me or just straight up kill me.
No, come on, wait!
See you, Strife.
Alright, here we are.
Ground.
Back to the foot of Olympus. Now, we're not at the new content yet, I would like to point out. And I'm a Death Defiance down and almost at half health, despite my intense scaling. I actually don't know what happened, but I was smearing this part of the game at certain points. I don't have any contracts active at the moment, and I feel like the difficulty has just been absolutely jacked. Like, suddenly I can't even really get to the new content because I'm just getting plastered. I don't even know if it's a skill thing, but there had to have been buffs given to the boat portion of the game. And definitely to this portion at the foot of Olympus.
Lord Hermes.
Alright, here I'm basically so desperate for any amount of damage that I am praying Daedalus can get me out of this. I legitimately need just straight damage. Every single bit of improved damage I can get will make this so much faster. Did you see that? That was a boon buffed ability that took 3 rotations from half health with backstab doing double damage on the return to kill a suicidal fodder enemy. So here I actually have another very difficult choice to make, which is straight percent damage increase and bounce, or to abuse my Aphrodite boon as much as possible, which is exactly what I decided to do and abuse as much as possible. So dash in, quick strike, burst of damage from the wound, and the Aphrodite damage as well. And it's still not enough if I'm being honest with you. So right here is a perfect example of an enemy that you can bait into all of the rows of the swords. It works incredibly well on the chargers. I don't know why. Maybe their hitbox is just really big, but that's about the best guess that I've got.
Good news is we can now be sure what Gramps had planned for us, but bad news is it's Typhon and he's big. But my pop's off.
So here I'm basically betting on my blood drops spawning so much that I can just abuse the heartthrob damage and obliterate enemies with all the explosions. But if I'm honest, looking back on it, that was not my brightest decision.
Serpentine tales of Typhon, Lord and Father.
Alright, listen, I gotta level with everybody for a second. This is future Percy editing this footage, and I am debating stabbing OBS and finding an avatar of OBS the program and shanking it in the face, because the entire audio for right when I just cut off to right now, it's all corrupted. All of it. My voice, I'm so upset. I can't even really put it into words because, like, that's both elites. That's 2 rooms.
Know all the details, but long since figured out Kronos
Ugh.
was something big. Had you not acted swiftly then, I wouldn't be here now. We wouldn't have this chance.
I prefer guarantees to chances, Em, but hey, you're right. We do the best we can with what we've got. See you.
See you. Olympus, I accept this message.
So here, I don't know if you guys will be able to tell, but I can't count. Because 194 is not 70% of 303. And I literally bought that boon for nothing.
You dare hide your life force from me? However much you have, I'll bleed it dry. He's gone into the storm.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make this count. He's looking worse. Really?
Yeah. I lose with this build too. Because this dude has an obscene amount of health. I can't even begin to actually tell you how much health this thing has. I don't know. I literally just don't know because he annihilates his own health bar when he enters the fight.